I've been married to Zhou Mayan for 20 years. For a decade, I cared for his bedridden mother, and I supported him as he rose from a small-town teacher to a renowned professor. Everyone says I'm the model of a virtuous wife and mother, the great benefactor of the Zhou family. On her deathbed, my mother-in-law held my hand and said she'd want me as her daughter-in-law in her next life too. Zhou Mayan held me in his arms and said gratefully, "Jin Shu, you've worked so hard all these years. I'll make it up to you." I thought my suffering had finally come to an end, but before my mother-in-law was even cold in her grave, he handed me divorce papers and embraced my childhood best friend. He said, "Lin Jinshu, I've endured you for 20 years, I'm finally free, the one I've always loved is Xiao Rou. I left with nothing, ended up homeless, and a car accident brought my miserable life to an end. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back at the blind date scene from 20 years ago. The matchmaker was enthusiastically singing Zhou Mayan's praises. This young man is a definite catch, a real diamond in the rough. He's got great character, he's filial, and any woman who marries him will be blessed." I looked at the refined, sincere man sitting across from me and smiled. Then I tossed the blind date profile in my hand into the trash can. "Sorry, I don't think we're a good match." 1. Zhou Mayan's smile froze on his face. He adjusted the gold-rimmed glasses on the bridge of his nose, his tone still gentle. "Miss Lin, have I done something to give you the wrong impression? We can take our time getting to know each other. There's no need to rush to a conclusion." The matchmaker, Auntie Wang, grew anxious too and grabbed my hand. "Oh, Jin Shu, you silly girl, a young talent like Mr. Zhou is a rare find indeed. Don't you be foolish about this." I gently withdrew my hand, my gaze resting calmly on Zhou Mayan. In my past life, it was this very same gentle and refined facade that deceived me for an entire lifetime. I thought his family's poverty was only temporary, and I believed his character was beyond reproach. So, I used all my savings, gave up my chance to study at an art academy, and settled with him in that small town. I managed the household, schmoozed with his superiors, and paved the way, step by step, for his smooth ascent to success. And in the end, the moment he achieved fame and fortune, his first act was to kick me, his stepping stone, to the curb. A faint smile touched my lips. "Mr. Zhou, it's not a misunderstanding, you're wonderful. It's me who isn't good enough for you." With that, I stood up, took my bag, and turned to leave. "Jin Shu." Zhou Mayan grabbed my wrist. I turned and looked at him coldly. He seemed to realize his own impropriety and loosened his grip. "Miss Lin, I just feel a deep sense of regret. I promised my mother I would find a wife as gentle and virtuous as you." Then keep looking." I cut him off, wrenching my hand free. "Mr. Zhou, stop following me. It's embarrassing." I walked out of the noisy tea house without a backward glance. The early summer breeze brushed against my face, carrying a hint of warmth, and I let out a long, deep sigh of relief. "It's good, there's still time for everything." Just then, my best friend, Bai Rou, called. I swiped to answer, and her gentle, concerned voice immediately came through the line. "Jin Shu, how did the blind date go? Aunt Wang told me that Mr. Zhou is a really great guy. Did you meet him?" Leaning against a plane tree by the roadside, watching the dappled shadows, I let out a soft chuckle. "I did. That's wonderful. What's he like? Is he really as Auntie Wang said?" "Well, he's got potential," I said flatly. On the other end of the line, Bai Rou seemed to let out a sigh of relief, her voice brimming with delight. "I knew it, Jin Shu. You absolutely have to seize this opportunity. For a woman, nothing matters more than marrying a good man. Don't you worry, once you and Mr. Zhou are married, I'll treat him as well as a real brother would." That's exactly what she said in my past life. And then, while I was run ragged taking care of my mother-in-law, she put on the dress I bought and went to comfort Zhou Mayan in my stead, while I was running around begging for his research funding. She was by his side at every academic conference, playing the role of the charming and understanding companion. In the end, she took my husband's arm and said to me, "Jin Shu, I'm sorry, you can't control who you fall in love with." I closed my eyes, forcing down the heart-wrenching hatred. "Beru, if you think he's so wonderful, why don't I let you have this blessing?" On the other end of the line, Bai Rou's breath hitched sharply. "Too. Jin Shu, what are you saying?" Bai Rou's voice suddenly became flustered. "We're best friends. How could I possibly? What are friends for if not to share the good things in life?" I casually cut her off. "Haven't you always said you wanted a man who's ambitious, filial, and treats you well? Zhou Mayan fits every single one of your criteria perfectly, but he's your blind date." I already turned him down. I watched the people coming and going on the street, and the whole world suddenly seemed brighter. "So he's a free agent now," you have Auntie Wang's number, right? Hurry up and make a move. A catch like this doesn't come around often. You'll regret it if you miss your chance." After saying that, I hung up the phone without waiting for her response. I could just picture the look on Byro's face on the other end of the line, a mix of shock and secret delight. In my past life, she had sung Zhou Mayan's praises to me countless times, urging me to lock him down. She just wanted me to clear the thorns from her path first, to prop up Zhou Mayan, so she could swoop in and reap the rewards when the time was right. Well, in this life, I'll grant her wish. I'm curious to see how Byro, without my family background and savings as seed capital, without my connections and sacrifices paving his way, will manage to build the good life she wants with her beloved high-potential stock. When I got home, my mom was waiting for me on the sofa, seeing me walk in. She immediately asked, "So, what's the verdict? How was that Mr. Zhou?" My father also poked his head out from the study. Both my parents were ordinary factory workers, quite traditional in their thinking. They always believed that having a stable family was the most important thing for a girl. In my past life, they were extremely pleased with Zhou Mayan, their educated son-in-law. I sat down beside them and said calmly, "Mom, Dad, I'm just not interested in him." "What?" My mother's face fell with disappointment. "Why not? Auntie Wang said he was." He mentioned his mother is in poor health and is on long-term medication. He has a younger brother still in college, and he's the sole breadwinner for the whole family. I stripped away the polished image of Zhou Mayan as the dutiful, responsible son and laid bare the harsh reality. My mother's expression changed instantly. "That's such a heavy burden to carry, isn't it?" "Yeah," I nodded. "Besides, I don't want to get married this early." "Mom, Dad, I want to pick up the paintbrush again. I want to apply for graduate school at the art academy. This is a dream I've kept buried in my heart for 20 years. In my past life, for Zhou Mayan, I gave up my guaranteed graduate school admission spot." He once vowed earnestly, "Jin Shu, once I'm settled, I will absolutely support you in pursuing further studies." Later, he did become settled, a professor no less, but then he said to me, "You're almost 40, what's the point of all this fuss? Wouldn't it be better to just stay home and be content?" My father listened to what I had to say, fell silent for a long moment, and finally nodded. "All right, if you want to take the exam, go for it. Don't worry about things at home." My dad has always been more open-minded than my mom. My eyes welled up, and I nodded firmly. The next day, while I was at the bookstore looking for grad school prep materials, Zhou Mayan suddenly appeared and stood right in front of me. "Miss Lin, I know this is terribly forward of me, but I'd like to make one last appeal." I closed the book and looked at him. "Mr. Zhou, I believe I've made myself perfectly clear." "I know," he said with a bitter smile, a note of pleading in his voice. "My mother found out yesterday that you weren't interested in me. She was up all night, and this morning, she fell ill." A cold sneer formed in my heart. In my past life, I was too soft-hearted. After his mother fell ill, I went to visit, only to be surrounded by his entire family and emotionally blackmailed. In the end, I reluctantly agreed to the marriage. I looked him straight in the eye and said, word by word, "Professor Zhou, your mother is ill. You should take her to the hospital to see a doctor, not come to a stranger you've only just met. I'm not a doctor, I can't cure her." 3. Zhou Mayan's face instantly darkened. He took a deep breath, his tone heavy. "Jin Shu, I just want to ask you to go see her. She really likes you. She keeps saying you're exactly the kind of daughter-in-law she always imagined. Could you just take pity on an old woman and visit her, please?" His voice held a slight tremor, and his eyes were growing slightly red. I placed the book back on the shelf and turned to leave. "Lin Jin Shu." Zhou Mayan's voice suddenly rose sharply. "Are you really that heartless?" People around us began to turn and look our way. I stopped in my tracks, meeting his slightly displeased gaze with a calm look of my own. "Mr. Zhou, please mind your language. Between us, there is nothing but a failed blind date. Your current outburst in a public place is causing me considerable distress." His chest heaved violently, clearly seething with rage. "Fine, fine, fine," he repeated, his eyes darkening with a gloomy intensity. "Lin Jin Shu, I'll remember you." With that, he turned and strode away, his retreating figure carrying a hint of discomfiture. That evening, I received a call from an unknown number. On the other end was an elderly, frail-sounding woman's voice. Is this Miss Lin?" I recognized it immediately. It was Zhang Suihua, Zhou Mayan's mother. "Hello, Auntie," I replied, polite yet distant. "Oh, Jin Shu." Zhang Suihua sighed heavily over the phone. "Auntie knows. It's our Mayan who wasn't fortunate enough. He doesn't deserve a wonderful girl like you, but I just want to see you." to say a few words to you in person, otherwise, my heart, it feels so heavy, I'm afraid I just won't be able to get past this." Her voice actually started to tremble with tears as she spoke. I held the phone, silent. In my past life, she was just the same. Every time Zhou Mayan wanted something from me, she would conveniently fall ill, feel heartache, or claim life wasn't worth living, and I, time and again, let my heart soften, time and again, gave in. "Jinshu, dear, I'm not asking for anything else, I'm just begging you to come to the hospital to see this old woman, alright? Just think of it as taking pity on me." Her voice was filled with pleading. As if my refusal was a foregone conclusion, I took a deep breath, knowing that if this wasn't settled once and for all, they'd cling to me like a stubborn burr, never letting go. "Alright." I agreed. "Send me the address, I'll be there tomorrow afternoon." After hanging up, I stared out at the pitch-black night sky, my gaze gradually turning cold. "Zhou Mayan, since you and your mother insist on putting on this show, I'll be happy to play along to the very end, but this time, I'll be the one writing the script." The next afternoon, I arrived at the city hospital as promised. Just as I reached the entrance of the inpatient building, I saw Bai Ro waiting there. She was wearing a simple white dress with light makeup, and her face was full of concern as she hurried over to me the moment she saw me. "Jinshu, you're finally here, Auntie. She hasn't eaten anything since this morning and has been talking about you non-stop." She naturally linked her arm with mine, as if we were still the closest of confidants who shared everything. "Is that so?" I replied coolly, withdrawing my hand. "Let's go in quickly. We shouldn't keep the elderly waiting." Bai Ro's eyes flickered for a moment before she resumed her gentle, kind demeanor and led me towards the hospital room. Pushing open the door to the room, a heavy smell of medicine washed over me. Zhang Xuehua lay weakly on the hospital bed, with Zhou Mayan sitting beside her, helping her drink some water. As soon as I entered, Zhang Xuehua's eyes lit up, and she struggled to sit up. "Jinshu, oh Jinshu, you're here, Auntie, please, just rest." I pulled over a chair and sat down. Not too close and not too far from the hospital bed, Zhang Xuehua took my hand, and her tears came in an instant. "Good child, I always knew you had a kind heart. Look, apart from his modest family background, what's not to like about our Mayan? He's well-educated, filial, and bound for great things in the future. You, just give him one more chance, won't you?" As soon as she finished speaking, Bai Ro, standing nearby, couldn't hide a flicker of displeasure on her face. But she immediately chimed in. "That's right, Jinshu, Brother Mayan is truly a wonderful person. It would be such a shame if you two missed this chance." Zhou Mayan, meanwhile, hung his head, looking both remorseful and helpless. The three of them were quite the spectacle. I looked at Zhang Xuehua and spoke slowly. "Auntie, there are plenty of successful men out there, but I'm not interested in charity cases." That single sentence plunged the entire hospital room into instant silence. The tears were still wet on Zhang Xuehua's face, but her expression froze solid. Bai Ro's mouth hung open, her face a picture of utter disbelief. Zhou Mayan's head snapped up, his face flushing crimson in an instant. What did you say?" I said. "I don't like charity cases," I repeated, meeting his murderous glare with a calm, steady gaze. "Teacher Zhou, what's your monthly salary? Is that enough to buy your mother's medicine, pay your brother's tuition, and support an entire family? My parents raised me for over 20 years, not so I could marry someone and live a life of hardship with a man." "Lin Jinshu." Zhou Mayan sprang to his feet, pointing at me. You're just insulting me. Don't look down on a man in his youth." I'm not bullying you, I'm just stating the facts." I cut him off. "And, Mr. Zhou, you've got the wrong person. The one who truly appreciates you and is willing to fight alongside you isn't me." My gaze slowly shifted to Bai Ro, who was standing to the side. "Beru, haven't you always said that Mr. Zhou is a man with great potential, a good person, and that whoever marries him will be blessed?" 5. I smiled at her. "Now I'm passing this blessing on to you. You should be thanking me." Bai Ro's cheeks flushed a delicate pink in an instant, and she cast a shy glance towards Zhou Mayan. The atmosphere in the hospital room, however, had become unbearably awkward. Just then, the door to the hospital room swung open, and a tall figure stepped inside. The man's eyes swept over the scene in the room, his brow furrowing slightly before his gaze finally settled on me. Lin Jinshu. I froze. This person, I knew him. He was my high school classmate, San Yu, and a veritable legend in our school back in the day, but with his wealthy background and rebellious streak, he and I, a straight-A student who always followed the rules, had almost nothing to do with each other. What is he doing here? Ignoring everyone else, Songyu walked straight up to me and handed me a document. Here are the materials you requested. Also, I heard you're looking for a studio space. A friend of mine has a place for rent in the south part of the city. It's in a good area. If you're interested, I can put you in touch. His arrival instantly shattered the oppressive atmosphere in the room. Zhou Mayan looked at Songyu, then at me, his eyes filled with wariness. You two know each other. Before I could even answer, Songyu had already shot him a cold glance. What's it to you? He turned back to look at me, his tone softening a little. It stinks in here, let's go. I'll walk you back. I looked at him and nodded. Songyu was right, the place did reek. His showing up had really bailed me out. Okay, I stood up and followed Songyu out of the hospital room without a backward glance. It wasn't until I was seated in Songyu's car that a slight sense of unease finally caught up with me. The interior of the car was quiet, filled with a faint scent of cedarwood, as cool and steady as the man himself. Thank you, I said, breaking the silence first. I know he came in just now on purpose to help me out of that awkward situation. The document he handed me was nothing but a blank sheet of A4 paper. Songyu kept his eyes on the road, focused on driving, his voice betraying no emotion. It was nothing. Don't pay any mind to people like that. I didn't think he'd find out. You heard all of that. Yeah, he replied. I was visiting my grandpa in the hospital wing. I was just passing by, and your voices were so loud it was impossible not to hear. I gave an awkward smile. Air your dirty laundry in public, and it's never a good look. A family like that is a quagmire. Once you've been stuck in it, you should know to steer clear. Songyu spoke up suddenly. His tone was flat, but it hit me like a thunderclap. I whipped my head around to look at him, my heart pounding. What do you mean? How could he possibly know I'd been trapped in that situation before? Could it be? He's been reborn too. Songyu seemed to notice my astonishment. He slowly pulled the car over to the side of the road, turned his head, and fixed his deep, quiet gaze on me. The streetlight filtered through the car window, casting shifting patterns of light and shadow across his face. In our past life, when you had that car accident, I was there. My mind went completely blank. I saw you get thrown by the impact. I also saw Zhou Mayan and that woman, just standing across the street, watching coldly. Songyu's voice was soft, yet every word cut like a knife. Afterwards, I called the police for you and took care of your final arrangements. So that's how it was. After I died, it was this classmate I barely knew who preserved my last shred of dignity. My eyes stung uncontrollably, and a single tear slipped out without a sound. Don't cry. Songyu handed over a tissue, his brow furrowed. He's not worth it. I took the tissue, wiped my face roughly, and tried to calm myself down. Thank you, Songyu. Really, thank you. Don't mention it. He started the car again. I just don't think that should have been your ending. He paused, then added, you have a real talent for painting. I've always remembered that painting you exhibited in your senior year of high school, sunflowers under a starry sky. After that, I never saw you paint again. 6. That painting is one of my own most satisfying works. I thought no one but me would ever remember it. To my surprise, after all these years, he still remembers. A tender corner of my heart felt a gentle touch. My lips parted, but I couldn't find the words. Are you thinking of applying for the graduate program at the Art Academy? He asked. Yeah, feel free to reach out if you need any help. I majored in design in college too, so I might be able to offer some advice. I looked at his sharply defined profile, and a tumult of emotions welled up inside me. In my past life, my world revolved entirely around Zhou Mayan. I thought he was my whole world. Never knowing that somewhere out of my sight, someone still remembered my dreams. Okay, I nodded firmly. This time, I won't let myself down again. Songyu dropped me off at my building. After I got out of the car, he rolled down the window. I'll have my assistant get in touch with you tomorrow about the studio. I don't want to put you to any trouble. It's no trouble at all. He looked at me, his gaze sincere. Lin Jinshu, you deserve better. With that, he drove away. I stood there, watching his taillights vanish into the night, unable to move for a long time. The next day, Songyu's assistant contacted me and took me to see the studio in the south of the city. It was an art district converted from an old factory building, with a tranquil atmosphere and a strong artistic vibe. My friend Songyu's studio is on the second floor. It's spacious, flooded with natural light, and looks directly onto a red brick wall covered in ivy. I fell in love with the place almost instantly. The rent was much more affordable than I'd imagined. Using the savings I'd built up over years of work, I signed the lease without a second thought. Having my own studio gave me even more motivation to prepare for the exams. I moved all my painting supplies here, apart from going home to eat and sleep, I spent nearly every waking moment in this place. Picking up the paintbrush again felt like reclaiming a part of my soul that had been missing for years. During this time, Joe Mayan and Byro stopped bothering me altogether. I overheard my mom gossiping at the dinner table, saying that Joe Mayan had somehow gotten together with that Byro girl. Aunt Wong was absolutely furious, saying that Byro, with just a vocational school diploma and a modest family background, was simply not good enough for Joe Mayan. But my mother thought it was just fine, that Byro may not have much education, but she seems gentle and obedient. Given the Zhou family's situation, finding someone like her might actually make for an easier life. I just listened quietly, offering no comment. Sweet and obedient, in my past life. It was with this very facade that Byro had Zhou Mayan wrapped around her finger, turning the household upside down. As for Zhou Mayan, he probably figured that since my path was close to him, clinging to a Byro who was utterly submissive to him could at least satisfy his pitiful male ego. They're perfect for each other. Good riddance. Song Yu would occasionally drop by my studio. He usually didn't say much, just sat quietly to the side, watching me paint or tending to his own work. Sometimes he'd bring me professional art books or design portfolios, the kind that are hard to find on the market. He never interfered with my creative process, but whenever I hit a wall, he always managed to pinpoint the exact issue. The composition here is a bit too crowded. Leaving some negative space would give it more room for imagination. You could be bolder with this color. Your fundamentals are solid, but your thinking is a bit constrained. Under his guidance, I improved rapidly, and my confidence for the postgraduate entrance exam grew stronger and stronger. That day, while I was sketching a portrait, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I picked up the phone without thinking, only to hear Zhou Mayan's voice on the other end. Jin Shu, it's me. He sounded weary. 7, I frowned, wanting to hang up right then and there. Don't hang up, he said urgently, as if he'd guessed what I was thinking. I'll just say a few words. Sharo and I are getting married. Congratulations. My tone was completely flat. Zhou Mayan fell silent on the other end of the line for a few seconds, seemingly unsettled by my indifference. She's pregnant, he managed to say, the words coming out with difficulty. I raised an eyebrow. That was unexpected. It seems Byro is pulling out all the stops to marry her promising catch as soon as possible. Then double congratulations are in order. Jin Shu. My calm demeanor seemed to infuriate him. Don't you have anything else to say? If you hadn't rejected me back then, the one carrying my child and marrying me now should have been you. I was so infuriated by his shameless logic that I almost laughed. I said coldly, Zhou Mayan, you and I merely had a single matchmaking meeting and have only met a handful of times. Are the things you're saying now even appropriate? He was left speechless by my retort. And one more thing, don't call me anymore. Your marriage, your children, they have nothing to do with me. I wish you a lifetime of happiness together, never to part. With that, I hung up the phone without a second thought and blocked the number. Song Yu, sitting across from me, looked up and glanced my way. Him again. I put down my brush, a wave of irritation washing over me. Don't let irrelevant people get to you. He got up and walked behind me, looking at my painting. The way you've handled the light and shadow here is quite good. His voice was calm, like a sedative, instantly soothing the agitation in my heart. I looked at him and, as if compelled by some unseen force, asked, Song Yu, why are you so good to me? Song Yu's gaze shifted from the painting and settled on my face. His eyes were deep, like an ancient well, making it impossible for me to discern the emotions within. After a long pause, he finally spoke slowly. Perhaps it's because, in you, I see a regret I never wanted to witness. I didn't quite understand what he meant. He didn't explain further, simply saying, focus on your painting. There's not much time left before the exam. I nodded, pushing down my confusion, and threw myself back into my work. The days passed one by one, and soon the day of the graduate school entrance exam arrived. I walked into the exam hall with a sense of calm I had never felt before. Over the 2 days of exams, I performed really well. The moment I stepped out of the exam hall and looked up at the clear blue sky, I felt a huge weight lift off my shoulders. No matter the outcome, I gave it my all and have no regrets. The results won't be out for over a month. I didn't just sit around during that time. I started taking on some freelance design work. Song Yu referred a client to me, a high-end dessert brand looking to design a new packaging suite. I spent a week meticulously crafting a proposal, and Song Yu came with me on the day of the presentation. The client was thrilled with my design, gave the green light to the collaboration on the spot, and even paid a substantial deposit up front. holding the first money I'd ever earned through my own professional skills. I was overwhelmed with excitement. That evening, I insisted on treating Songyu to dinner. We chose a quiet Western restaurant. Songyu, I really can't thank you enough for this, I said sincerely, raising my glass. You earned it with your own talent, he said, clinking his glass against mine. I just opened a door. 8. We talked for a long time, covering everything from design philosophy to future plans. I realized, to my astonishment, that he and I were remarkably aligned in so many ways. It was a feeling I had never experienced with Zhou Mayan. Throughout the 20 years with Zhou Mayan, I was always the one giving and looking up. He spoke of his academics, his ambitions, while I was left circling in the mundane world of domestic chores and social niceties. An unbridgeable chasm lies between us, but with Songyu, we are equals. And we hold a mutual admiration for each other. It was a thoroughly enjoyable meal. After leaving the restaurant, we walked side by side along the riverbank, where the gentle evening breeze felt wonderfully soothing. Songyu suddenly stopped in his tracks and looked at me. Lin Jinshu, what are your plans once the postgraduate exam results come out? If I get in, I'll go study. If I don't, I'll focus on my studio, I said. Have you ever thought about another possibility? What? He looked into my eyes and said, each word deliberate, clear, and solemn. For example, be my girlfriend. I froze completely. My mind went blank, utterly at a loss for how to react. Was he confessing his feelings to me? I stammered. My mind in complete turmoil. I admit, I have feelings for Songyu, and even a hint of dependence, but because of my past life's experiences, I don't dare to easily tie my life to another person again. Songyu seemed to sense my hesitation and apprehension. He just sighed and reached out to ruffle my hair. Don't be afraid, he said, I won't pressure you. Take your time to think it over. As long as you need, I'll wait. His palm was warm, the heat seeping through my hair to my scalp, and slowly, my heart began to warm as well. Just then, a shrill woman's voice shattered the tranquility. Lin Jinshu, you shameless homewrecker. I turned around to see Bai Rou, her pregnant belly clearly visible, charging towards me with pure venom on her face. Behind her followed Zhou Mayan, his face ashen with rage. Bai Rou, despite being pregnant, lunged at me with claws bared, trying to scratch my face. You shameless hussy. Can't get a husband of your own, so you have to go after someone else's. Songyu reacted instantly, stepping in front of me and effortlessly blocking Bai Rou. His face darkened, his voice as cold as ice. Madam, I must ask you to control yourself. Zhou Mayan quickly stepped forward to pull Bai Rou back, hissing under his breath. Have you lost your mind? Stop making a scene. Me, making a scene. Bai Rou shook off his hand and pointed a finger right at my face, unleashing a torrent of abuse. Zhou Mayan, look at her. The ink on our marriage certificate isn't even dry, and she's already latched onto some rich playboy. She's doing this to get back at us. She can't stand to see us happy. Her voice was shrill and piercing, drawing sidelong glances from passers-by. Watching her hysterical display, I could only find it laughable. Bai Rou, are you under some kind of misunderstanding? I said coldly. Zhou Mayan and I have had nothing to do with each other for a long time. Who I'm with is none of your business. How dare you say that? Bai Rou trembled with rage. If it weren't for you, would Mu Yen keep going on about you in front of me every single day? Would he compare me to you? He says I'm not as smart as you, not as sensible as you, not as good at managing a household as you are. Lin Jinshu, what kind of potion did you slip him? 9. I couldn't help but laugh. Zhou Mayan is, at his core, an extremely selfish and chauvinistic man. What he needs is a wife who acts like a selfless, ever-dutiful nanny, not a little princess he has to constantly pamper and look after. Zhou Mayan's face flushed with alternating shades of pale and red, clearly mortified at having his flaws exposed by Bai Rou in front of everyone. Enough, stop making a scene here, he growled under his breath, trying to drag Bai Rou away by force. I'm not going. Bai Rou clung on desperately, tears and sniffles streaming down her face. Lin Jinshu, I'm begging you, please just leave us alone. You already have such a wonderful man. Why do you insist on stringing Mayan along? Give him back to me, please. With those words, she twisted the truth, painting herself as the poor, wronged wife whose marriage was being wrecked by the other woman. The onlookers, unaware of the truth, were looking at me with a completely different expression in their eyes. I was so angry that a chill ran through my entire body. Songyu took my hand, pulled me behind him, and then stepped forward himself. His tall frame radiated an intimidating presence. Mr. Zhou, Mrs. Zhou, Jinshu and I are in a proper relationship. Please mind your language. If you harass or slander my fiancé one more time, my lawyer will be in touch. My legal fees are not cheap," he added casually. Zhou Mayan and Bai Ro's faces instantly turned ashen. They knew perfectly well that with Song Yu's status and wealth, making their lives a living hell would be as easy as pie. Zhou Mayan stared daggers at the way Song Yu shielded me, his eyes brimming with jealousy and resentment. In the end, he took the sobbing Bai Ro by the arm and slunk away in disgrace. Song Yu turned to me, his brow furrowed with concern. "Are you alright?" I shook my head, but a heavy feeling settled in my chest. I stared at him, my voice barely a whisper. "Song Yu, did you just say, fiancé?" Song Yu's eyes flickered for a moment before his composure returned. "A necessary measure in the heat of the moment," he explained, "to make them give up for good." I let out an "oh," unsure whether I felt more disappointed or relieved, but then, he shifted gears, his gaze fixed intently on me. "If you're willing, it can become a reality at any time." My heart started racing uncontrollably once again. I lowered my head, not daring to meet his eyes. I need some time." "Alright, I'll take you home." We didn't speak again on the way back. The atmosphere in the car was a bit delicate. A few days later, a flood of negative posts about me suddenly appeared all over the internet. The headlines were utterly sensational, shocking. Up-and-coming designer dumps poor boyfriend to marry into wealth, steals best friend's husband. In these posts, I was portrayed as a shallow gold digger who only cared about money. The story goes that I initially looked down on my blind date, Zhou Mayan, but later, when I found out he married my best friend, Bai Ro, I became jealous, so I turned around and tried to seduce him, even finding a wealthy sugar daddy to make him jealous. It doesn't take a genius to figure out who's behind this. Reading those vile comments, I felt my hands and feet turn to ice. What a disgusting woman. She didn't want the man herself, but she can't stand to see someone else have him. That guy must be blind. Out of all the people he could have chosen, he went for someone like her. I feel so bad for the pregnant friend. What rotten luck to have a friend like that. Bai Ro is getting back at me this way. She's trying to completely ruin my reputation. Just as I was at a complete loss, Song Yu's call came through. "I've seen what's online." His voice was steady and calm. "Don't be afraid, and don't respond. Leave it to me. But, trust me." His simple, yet powerful 2 words inexplicably put my mind at ease. 10. Over the next 2 days, the online controversy intensified. Even someone claiming to be Zhou Mayan's colleague came forward, alleging that Zhou is a decent, honest teacher who is now being ostracized at school, all because he married Bai Ro and offended Lin Jinshu. In an instant, I became the target of a nationwide outcry. I locked myself in my studio, too afraid to go outside or even look at my phone. Then, on the morning of the 3rd day, the situation took a shocking turn. A well-known legal blogger published a lengthy post. The article methodically laid out all the questionable points and legal risks contained within those posts. Immediately afterwards, the legal department of Song Yu's company issued a strongly worded cease and desist letter. It explicitly named and sued Bai Ro, Zhou Mayan, and several of the most prolific rumor-spreading marketing accounts, demanding they immediately remove the false information, issue a public apology, and pay substantial compensation for emotional damages. The most devastating blow came in the form of a leaked audio recording. The recording captured a conversation between Bai Ro and an unidentified man. The man said, "The photos and the copy were posted as you instructed. The results are excellent. When can I expect the final payment?" Bai Ro said, "Once that bitch Lin Jinshu is utterly disgraced. You'll get every last cent you're owed. I'm going to make sure she never dares to show her face in public again." At the end of the recording, Zhou Mayan's voice is heard. "Xiao Ro, don't you think this is going too far?" Bai Ro sneered. "Too much. She made you lose so much face, and you call that too much?" "Zhou Mayan, let me make this clear. It's either her or me. We can't both be here." The recording exploded like a bombshell, instantly setting the entire internet ablaze. Public opinion flipped in an instant. The same netizens who were hurling the most vicious insults at me are now the ones feeling the most sympathy for me. Meanwhile, Bai Ro and Zhou Mayan have become public enemies, scorned by everyone. "Oh my god, this Bai Ro is pure evil. She's the other woman, and she has the nerve to sling mud at the victim, and that Zhou Mayan is no saint either. He knew full well his wife was doing these terrible things and just let it happen. A social climber paired with a manipulative woman, what a match made in hell. I feel so bad for Ms. Lin, getting tangled up with these 2 pieces of work." Soon after, Zhou Mayan's university also issued a statement, announcing a serious investigation into his conduct as an educator. Meanwhile, by Roe was directly summoned by the police for suspected defamation and online harassment. I watched the newsfeed constantly updating on my phone, with a tumult of emotions churning inside me. Song-yu pushed open the studio door and walked in. "It's all taken care of," he said, walking up to me, a note of weariness in his voice. I knew he probably hadn't gotten much rest these past 2 days, dealing with all this for me. "Thank you, Song-yu," I said, looking up at him. "I don't know what else to say, other than thank you." He just shook his head, reaching out to gently pull me into his embrace. His embrace was warm and broad, filled with a deeply reassuring strength. He whispered in my ear, "I didn't do any of this to hear you say thank you." I leaned against his chest, listening to his steady, powerful heartbeat, my mind in complete turmoil. "I just couldn't bear to see you get hurt again," he sighed. "In our past life, I watched helplessly as you walked towards tragedy. It was a terrible feeling, so in this life, I told myself that if I got another chance, I would never let you repeat that mistake." His arms tightened around me a little. "Jin-shu, I don't pity you. I genuinely like you. I've liked you since high school. From the moment I saw you in front of your easel, your eyes shining with passion, I froze completely, unable to believe what I was hearing. It's just that back then, I was too proud, and too much of a coward. I thought we were from 2 different worlds, so I could only watch from afar as you walked towards someone else. Later, I studied abroad, started a business, and desperately tried to make myself stronger. I thought that once I was strong enough, perhaps I would be worthy of standing by your side, but by the time I returned, you were already married. I could only bury these feelings deep in my heart, until I saw you get hurt." His voice was thick with deep regret and anguish. "I never imagined that, all those years I was unaware, Song-yu had been carrying such profound feelings for me." I could no longer hold back. My tears came flooding out. I raised my hands, wrapped them around his waist, and buried my face deep in his chest. My voice choked with emotion as I spoke. "Song-yu, I do. I'm willing to give you a chance, and to give myself one too. I'm willing to try to believe in love, to try and embrace happiness." Story 2, the school bully confessed to me. Just as I was about to refuse, I saw a line of bullet comments in the air. "Agree to him. In the future, he will plunge into the sea of fire for you. The second male lead is so pitiful. He will never get the love he desires in his whole life." These words seemed to unlock something in me, making me recall everything that happened in my past life, forcing down the turmoil in my heart. I lifted my eyes to look at him. The school bully, who was always unruly, was as nervous as a child in front of me. Seeing that I didn't say anything, a trace of chagrin flashed across his face. "I understand, Sujin. I won't bother you anymore," as if I didn't hear him. I showed a sweet smile and threw myself into his arms. "Ji Yunjo, I promise to be your girlfriend. I am now, and I will always be." It seemed that I didn't use much strength, but he suddenly stumbled backward and leaned against the wall. "What did you say, Sujin? You don't play with me." His tone was full of uncertainty, and his voice gradually lowered. My heart twitched, and the memories of my past life flashed through my mind. Every time I was swayed by Liu Yubai, he rushed to accompany me and coax me. He had this exact expression on his face. The dense pain made my whole body go cold, and I hugged him even tighter. Then I looked up. The broken strands of hair on Ji Yunjo's forehead fluttered with the breeze. His amorous peach blossom eyes lost some of their luster. My voice trembled. "I'm not lying to you. Trust me. This time, we'll be together properly." He turned his head, and the line of his jaw tightened. "Why are you saying these things? Why did you agree to me?" The pain before my death in my past life and the panic of being reborn made the grievances piled up in my heart burst like a landslide. "Ji Yunjo, what are you asking? You confessed to me just now, didn't you?" I agreed, "but instead of being happy, you're asking me such questions." Big teardrops slid down my cheeks, and I was gasping for breath from crying. He panicked, and his limbs froze. It was as if he was holding a rare treasure. His arms lifted and then fell, not daring to touch me. "Sujin, don't cry." He lowered his head, his lips tightly pursed, his warm fingertips wiped across my cheeks. "It doesn't matter. Even if you cry until you look like a little cat, you're still beautiful. In my heart, you are the most dazzling and precious." This sudden sentence made me unable to stop crying. The wind blew through the big hole in my chest. I understood why he had confessed to me. Yesterday in my past life, the school held a long-distance running competition. Just because Liu Yubai casually said that the prize was nice, I desperately wanted to win the championship. I didn't like running, and my physical strength was poor. An 800-meter run could almost kill me, let alone a 3,000-meter long-distance run. But the eagerness to be praised by Liu Yubai made me persevere. Although I fell twice on the plastic track and my knees were covered in blood and flesh, after getting the prize, I limped and cried as I went to find him. Sweat, tears, and dust mixed together, and my fair face was stained with black marks. When I entered the classroom, he was leaning against the wall, enjoying the air conditioning and drinking the fruit tea sent by another girl. I licked my dry lips and carefully handed him the prize. Liu Yubai, you said it was nice, so I won it for you. He glanced at it casually. Did I say that? Why did you make yourself look like this? You're all dusty and not pretty at all. He looked at me again and frowned. As a girl, you should have some self-awareness. I don't like you, and I'm disgusted by everything you do. After saying that, he left, completely ignoring me. The mocking laughter of my classmates in the classroom was low, but I could still hear it clearly. The indescribable embarrassment made my cheeks flush red. And for many years after that, I was averse to running. Ji Yunzhou knew that I was brutally rejected, and he knew that I doubted myself because of those words, so he stopped me today and confessed to me, wanting to show me with his actions that in this world, there was someone who sincerely liked me and cared about me. I was worthy of being loved. Ji Yunzhou's love was not just talk, his feelings were real. And he wanted to surround me tightly, but in my past life, I didn't understand. His unexpected actions made me extremely sensitive. And I thought that he was also laughing at me. Pulling myself out of the memories, I wiped my face, looking at his thin lips that were so close. I took a deep breath and stood on tiptoe to kiss him. I wrapped my arms around his neck and lingered on his cold lips. He was like being under a spell and didn't move at all. Finally, I licked and bit him. And leaned against his arms, a little out of breath. He was still stiff all over. I couldn't help but curl the corners of my mouth and deliberately provoked him. Ji Yunzhou, where's the dignity of you being a school bully? Weren't you very arrogant when you stopped me just now? His hand slowly stroked my back. The corners of his peach blossom eyes were red, and emotions were surging in his eyes. Suddenly, I was pressed tightly against his chest. He fiercely claimed my slightly raised chin. Finally, we leaned against each other to calm our breaths. He spoke first, his tone pretending to be fierce. You know that I'm not a good person. Once you're with me, you won't be able to get rid of me. You're being mean to me. I kissed him again with a boop sound. Don't be mean to me, or I won't let you kiss me in the future. His face turned red, but he still stubbornly said, fine, then I won't kiss you. I blinked. It doesn't matter. I'm not afraid of you even if you're mean. I know you like me. He gritted his teeth, looking helplessly at me. His voice carried a hint of resentment. Su Zhen, I don't know what's going on, but you're acting strange. Why are you looking at me when Liu Yubai is around? If you want to play with me, then play with me for a long time. My heart ached when I heard this. Indeed, in my past life, my love for Liu Yubai was well known. How could he believe me with just a few words? It doesn't matter. It's not too late. We have plenty of time, too. In the past, although Ji Yunzhou and I were in the same class, I never looked at him directly. The deepest impression I had of him was that he was late every day, and he swaggered into the class, holding his school uniform and reporting. And then there were the loud words of his name spoken by the headmaster at the monthly routine announcement meeting in the school. But this kind of person had silently guarded me for more than 10 years, from high school to university. And then when we started working, friends around me came and went, but he was always there. During that time, I refused him countless times, but he wouldn't leave. Sometimes, when I was in a good mood, I joked, Ji Yunzhou, I remember you were a school bully before, but you don't look like one at all now. You've changed a lot. In fact, he hadn't changed. He was only willing to endure everything and restrain his temper in front of me. I wasn't unaware of Liu Yubai's hot and cold attitude towards me, but loving him had become a habit, and there was pain with every breath I took. When I was frustrated and went to the bar to get drunk, he listened to me repeating Liu Yubai's name and pouring glass after glass of wine, saying nothing. When I vomited, he patted my back. When I refused to take the car, he carried me home step by step, in a half-drunk and half-awake state. His cold tears fell into my palm. He said, Su Zhen, stop torturing yourself, just look at me. Okay, I could hear him and feel his pain, but I couldn't give him a response. After that, I made up my mind to push him away. I couldn't delay him any longer. I said a lot of harsh words to him. I ignored all his pleas to stay. I will never forget that his tall figure, over 1.8 meters, hunched over and fell to the ground. Later, Liu Yubai fell in love and got married. My dignity wouldn't allow me to pester him any longer. Not wanting to stay in this heartbroken place, I chose to go on a trip. The next time I met Ji Yunzhou was in the misty rain of Yangzhou's ancient city. He asked, "What are you doing here?" I said, mending my broken heart. He said, "What a coincidence, me too." We walked from summer to winter, from the ancient city to the snowy mountains. From the moment he held my hand for the first time during the trip and I didn't refuse, things between us got better and better. And we spent a sweet time together. Just when we were preparing to get married, I was kidnapped by Liu Yubai's enemy. The abandoned factory building was filled with gasoline. He rushed towards me regardless of everything and hugged me tightly, saying, "It's such a pity, we've just started. If there's another chance, I hope you can see clearly. Don't like him, like me." He paused. "If you still don't like me, then find someone else. It doesn't matter who, as long as he treats you sincerely." That warm embrace and that gentle tone, I thought I would never feel them again. By the mercy of fate, I was given a chance to start over. When I died in my past life, my soul rose into the air, and I saw the secrets of this world. It turned out that this world was a sweet and doting novel. The male lead was my childhood friend, Liu Yubai, but the female lead wasn't me, the childhood sweetheart. Instead, it was a repeat student who was about to transfer in, the affectionate second male lead, who made the readers feel sorry for him, didn't like the female lead. Instead, he liked me, the vicious supporting female character. It was written in the book that the female lead was gentle and aloof and didn't like to smile. The male lead found her very interesting and tried every means to amuse her. And finally, they fell in love. In fact, it wasn't like that. Liu Yubai took a fancy to my family background and kept leading me on, emotionally abusing me and making me do a lot of things for him. In the end, I was kidnapped because of him, and Ji Yunzhou and I were burned to death in the fire. What was even more ridiculous was that the reason why he was with the female lead wasn't because of love as written in the book. It was because the female lead was outstanding and could make his company thrive. In fact, both she and I were pitiful, being played around by that scumbag. "Xiaojun, breakfast is ready." The aunt knocked on the door and came in. I was dazed for a moment and then smiled. "Okay, tell the driver that I'll go to school now." She nodded and turned to go downstairs. I looked out the window at the lush green leaves on the branches. There was no need to regret the past, with precautions in this life. I would never give Liu Yubai any chance. What worried me now was how to coax Ji Yunzhou. At this age, I couldn't use any extreme means. I originally wanted to have a low-key relationship, but I didn't expect this matter to be known to everyone. 3. A big news spread in Lizzie Middle School. Su Jin, the well-behaved girl, agreed to the confession of the school bully, Ji Yunzhou. Yesterday, Su Jin used to always follow her childhood friend, Liu Yubai, helping him occupy seats and delivering water, being extremely attentive. Our brother Liu is as heartless as iron. Su Jin can't keep licking him anymore, right? I think Su Jin just wants to stimulate him. Maybe if brother Liu gets angry, he will agree to her. Don't say that. Doesn't Su Jin deserve to have a sweet relationship? She likes Liu Yubai so much. How could she be in a relationship with someone else? When I came in, they were chatting animatedly. The person sitting at the front desk saw me and made a funny face with wide eyes and an open mouth. The class fell silent all of a sudden. Some people didn't even dare to look at me. They coughed softly and stiffly changed the topic. Even the class representative became cautious when collecting the homework. I calmly sat at my seat as if nothing had happened, but there were people who came to provoke me. Liu Yubai's seat was next to me. He had been staring at me since I sat down. Maybe he was waiting for me to go and coax him as I used to, speaking softly and begging him to talk to me. I sneered. In the past dozen years, I didn't seem like Liu Yubai's childhood sweetheart. Instead, I was more like his maid, doing everything for him and being at his beck and call. Logically speaking, with my personality, even if I liked him, I wouldn't fawn on him to such an extent. I thought that the influence of the plot was too strong. Maybe my expression was too indifferent. Liu Yubai couldn't sit still and stood up, knocking on my desk. I looked up at him impatiently. "What do you want?" He sighed and looked at me disapprovingly. "Shinjin, you can't make me jealous like this. Don't ruin yourself." I found it ridiculous. "Jealous? What's there for me to be jealous about you? Don't be duplicitous." Liu Yubai thought I was arguing. His expression softened, and he wanted to soothe me. One hand rested on my desk, and the other wanted to touch my head. All the hairs on my body stood on end, and my voice involuntarily grew louder. "Liu Yubai, what are you doing?" The classmates in the class had been secretly looking at us. Some even walked back and forth 5 times. As soon as I said that, their movements slowed down, and they all stared at us intently. With so many eyes watching, Liu Yubai felt as if he had thorns on his back. His hand hung in the air, not knowing whether to put it down or not, and there was embarrassment on his face. Even so, He still pretended. He shook his head disappointedly. Xinjin, why have you become like this? I came to coax you, so don't be stubborn. A girl should cherish herself, he said earnestly, and my patience is limited. Xinjin, you should know when to stop. How thick-skinned he was to think that I was trying to stimulate him. I looked him in the eye and said word by word, listen carefully. I only say this once. I like Ji Yunzhou now and don't like you anymore. He looked at me as if he had heard something absurd and sighed. You're so stubborn. That scoundrel isn't worthy of your love. A scoundrel? How dare he call others a scoundrel? Remembering what he had done in my past life, I wanted to tear him apart. I stood up, ready to scold him. Suddenly, another voice fell forcefully into everyone's ears. I'm better than you even if I'm a scoundrel. It was Ji Yunzhou who had come. He carried his school bag on one shoulder and had his school uniform jacket hanging on his arm. He was tall and straight, and there was a sharp edge between his eyebrows and eyes. He walked over in 2 or 3 steps and threw his school bag at Liu Yubai's feet with a loud bang. I don't know what was in his school bag, but the ground shook. Liu Yubai's face showed a moment of pain, but his tone was frivolous and disdainful. With your behavior, you think you're better than me. Ji Yunzhou stared at him without speaking. The atmosphere in the class was strange. After all, the scene of the school bully confronting the top student wasn't common. Ji Yunzhou was only obedient in front of me. In fact, he had a bad temper. If someone deliberately provoked him, he would explode. They were waiting to watch the show and even hoped that Ji Yunzhou would punch Liu Yubai, but I was worried. This piece of trash, Liu Yubai, didn't deserve to make Ji Yunzhou get reported. I wanted to go and hold him back. Before I could move, Ji Yunzhou picked up his school bag and walked backward. Their shoulders collided, and he bumped into Liu Yubai hard. Move aside, a good dog doesn't block the way. I let out a sigh of relief. Just then, the bell for the morning self-study rang, and the homeroom teacher walked into the classroom with some documents. The classroom, which had been lively just now, fell silent. Everyone returned to their seats. Ji Yunzhou's desk was in the last row. When he walked past me, he glanced at me. I sat down and thought about it later. Was he feeling wrong just now? The homeroom teacher clapped her hands on the podium. Classmates, the midterm exam is over, and now I will fulfill my promise. After she finished speaking, the class became even quieter. Everyone around me, even the whole class, secretly peeked at me. I unconsciously straightened my back. It had been too long, and I forgot what had happened today. Maybe I had done something earth-shattering before. Su Zhen, why aren't you moving? The homeroom teacher urged me. I stood up blankly, not knowing what to do. I subconsciously glanced backward. Ji Yunzhou looked at me nervously and expectantly. In a flash, I suddenly remembered that in my past life, the homeroom teacher came up with a bad idea to encourage us to study. She said that we would choose our seats according to our exam scores. And the one who got the first place could choose anyone in the class to be their deskmate. At that time, not many people liked this way of arranging seats. Only I was as excited as if I had been injected with chicken blood and wanted to get the first place just to be Liu Yubai's deskmate. Thinking about it now, I was really an idiot. I didn't say anything for a long time. Ji Yunzhou's expression darkened, and he lowered his head to play with the book in his hand. The chair beside me scraped against the floor tiles. Liu Yubai stood up and said, "Teacher, something happened this morning. Su Zhen had an argument with me. She may be a bit embarrassed now, but she always wanted to sit with me. Where's his face?" I was so angry that a normal person wouldn't say such things. There was a commotion in the class. Some boys who liked to watch the excitement cheered. Yes, teacher, don't not believe it. Su Zhen studied like crazy just for this opportunity. I sneered. Teacher, Liu Yubai is used to being narcissistic. He always thinks that others do things for him. I got the first place just to live up to myself and have nothing to do with others. As for my deskmate, it's him. I pointed at Ji Yunzhou. Just right. I can tutor him and raise the average score of our class. The whoops and cheers in the class became even louder. So Su Zhen wants to raise the average score of our class. How great. The homeroom teacher patted the desk twice. Okay, Su Zhen has made her choice. Now the others can start choosing. After everything was done, the homeroom teacher stood on the podium and said meaningfully, "You are still at the age of studying. Don't be distracted. Getting into a good university is better than anything else." Su Zhen focuses on her studies and helps the classmates with lower grades. This kind of behavior is worthy of encouragement. After she finished speaking, she was about to go back to the office. When she reached the door, she suddenly remembered. Liu Yubai, come to my office after class. Because of what he said just now, the homeroom teacher mistakenly thought that he liked me. Serves him right. Once he enters the office, he won't be able to come out peacefully. 5. After class, Liu Yubai's good friend came to me, whistled, and taunted, "Sister Sue is awesome, you're good at distorting the truth." Liu Yubai, the good student, was called to the office for the first time. "I see that you're so indignant, why don't you blow up the school to rescue him? What's the point of showing off in front of me?" I scolded him with a smile. They were about to say something. Ji Yunzhou, who was sitting outside, stretched out his leg and kicked the table aside. "What? Do you want to wait for me in the back alley of the school and have a fight?" As soon as he said that, their faces turned from green to white. They cursed in a low voice but didn't dare to say anything more. They pushed and shoved and left. The school bully really lived up to his name. With just one sentence, he scared them away. After they walked away, I whispered in his ear, "Now do you believe that I don't like Liu Yubai?" He didn't speak. I continued, "I've really turned over a new leaf. You can supervise me in the future." I rested my chin in my hand and looked at him. Suddenly, his cheeks burned, and even his neck and the back of his ears turned red. "I really like this innocent Ji Yunzhou." He turned his head uncomfortably and said fiercely, "Stop looking. I'm not as good looking as you." I laughed. "Okay, I won't look anymore. You haven't had breakfast, right? I brought 2 servings today." I took it out of the desk pocket and gave it to him. He glanced at the things in the lunchbox, a bottle of hot milk and a few custard buns. "Did you bring these for me on purpose?" He looked at me, his eyes pitch black. I didn't notice that something was wrong with him. "Who else would I bring them for if not you?" His voice was low. "I heard that you often brought these 2 things as breakfast for Liu Yubai. The aunt at home prepared them. I forgot to tell her not to make them anymore." I quickly explained, "It has nothing to do with Liu Yubai. If you don't want to eat them, forget it." I wanted to take the lunchbox back, but he pressed it down. The corners of his lips curled up slightly. "Since I've taken it, don't waste it." He lowered his head and looked at it for a while. His eyes were full of unclear emotions. He picked up the milk and drank it all in one gulp. After drinking it, he looked at me with a happy expression, like a big dog waiting to be praised. Maybe I've found the right way to coax him. He reached for the custard bun, and I watched him eat quietly, but out of the corner of my eye, I saw the red rashes on his neck. I grabbed his hand. "Ji Yunzhou, what's wrong with you?" He scratched it indifferently. "I don't know, maybe I was blown by the wind." I thought of his abnormal reaction when he saw the milk just now, and my heart tightened. "Are you allergic to milk?" He fell silent and was about to say something. I interrupted him, and my eyelashes trembled. "Don't lie to me." He held my hand. "I'm allergic, but it's the first time you prepared breakfast for me, and I want to eat it." My eyes turned red. "Are you stupid? We have plenty of time in the future. It's not a big deal this time. Will you bring me breakfast?" In the eyes, his eyes were shining brightly. Is Ji Yunzhou's infatuation already at this level? Seeing that the red rashes on his neck were getting more and more, I pulled him up. "What are you still talking about? Hurry up and go to the hospital." 6. The doctor gave him an 4 drip. I accompanied him and sat on the infusion chair. His little finger scratched in my palm. "Are you leaving?" "Don't go. Stay with me." "Okay," I said softly, "I won't go." He relaxed his brows and interlaced his fingers with mine. Suddenly, he asked, "Su Zhen, we'll be okay, right?" I pressed my lips to his palm. "Yes, we will be okay for a lifetime." I didn't wait for his response. The medicine took effect, and he fell asleep. There was a commotion from the outpatient building. I casually looked into the hall and was stunned. The female lead, Shen Weiwei. She hurried behind a doctor and reached out several times to grab the doctor's arm, but she was shaken off. She even knelt on the ground and begged for something, but all she got was the doctor shaking his head. I found out the whole story from the cleaning aunt. It turned out that Shen Weiwei's grandfather suffered from uremia. The grandparents who depended on each other couldn't afford the expensive medical bills. The hospital wasn't a charity shelter, so they were politely asked to leave. That's how the scene just now happened. I couldn't help but stand up and look at Shen Weiwei's back as she knelt on the ground crying. The emotions in my heart were surging. Shen Weiwei was a rare talent in mobile game program development. In the next few years, the mobile game industry would reach its peak. My fingers trembled. "Liu Yubai, I'm sorry, this time, I will take the lead." I gently placed Ji Yunzhou's hand on the armrest and quickly walked towards the female lead. When I got close, she had stopped crying and buried her face in her palms. I looked at her quietly for a while and said, "Shen Weiwei." She slowly raised her head, revealing her red and swollen eyes, and looked at me warily. "Who are you?" I smiled sincerely and reached out my hand to her. "Hello. I'm Su Zhen. I've heard of you. You won the gold award in the math, physics, and chemistry competition in the city last year." She dodged my hand, and her expression became even colder. What do you mean? I smiled brightly. I can help your grandfather with his illness. She propped herself up and stood up. There's no such thing as a free lunch. What do you want from me? I have the funds, and you have the technology. We can achieve a win-win situation through cooperation. I held her fingertips. Trust me. I won't treat you unfairly like. She hesitated. I'm just a bit better at studying. Don't have high expectations of me. I raised my eyebrows. I trust my judgment. Time was running out. I called home and asked them to arrange the follow-up treatment for Shinweiwei's grandfather. After hanging up the phone, I suddenly remembered. Are you going to transfer to Lizzie Middle School tomorrow? Shinweiwei nodded. Lizzie Middle School offers a high scholarship. I smirked and whispered in her ear. Be careful of a person named Liu Yubai. He's a master at pretending and is a pervert. She looked serious and seemed to have taken it to heart. I couldn't delay any longer. If Ji Yunzhou woke up and didn't see me, he would be angry. I have something else to do. I'll go first, Shinweiwei said. Okay, see you at Lizzie tomorrow. 7. As I walked back, I was thinking about how to completely persuade my dad to fire the family driver. Who was Liu Yubai's father? As soon as I entered the outpatient department, a gaze fell on me as if it had substance. Ji Yunzhou had finished his 4-drip. He sat on the chair with his legs spread out, looking at me but not saying anything. I stopped in my tracks. I felt a bit guilty because I had promised to stay with him. He didn't move, but I had to. If I couldn't coax him today, I didn't know how awkward he would be tomorrow. I can explain. I saw an important person just now and went to meet her. I'm back now. He said faintly, yes, everyone is more important than me. When we were together, you said all the nice words, but now that you've got me, you don't cherish me. I think you just want to play with me. I coughed twice. These words made me seem like a heartless woman. I quickly repented. I was wrong. There won't be a next time. His eyelashes drooped. Su Zhen, you know what kind of person I am. But I never dared to lose my temper in front of you. I'm afraid that you'll be angry and leave me. Damn it, this man really made me feel sorry for him. I wanted to pull him into my arms and comfort him, but he changed his pitiful look and stood up. The sunlight couldn't penetrate his broad back, and the shadow slowly engulfed me. He pinned me against the wall. I had no way to escape. His tone was dangerous. Su Zhen, you used to say that you like small cute dogs. I pretended to be good and be your dog in front of you. But in the end, I'm not as important as that person. This person was so jealous. I leaned close to his mouth and sniffed. It was milk for breakfast. How did it turn into vinegar? He pushed my forehead away with one finger. Cut it out. Remember, I'm the most important person to you, apart from your parents. He already was. The image of him hugging me tightly and mumbling to himself before I died in my past life flashed through my mind. If he didn't know, I would say it again and again. You already are. I pressed my cheek against his. Like a sigh, I said, Ji Yunzhou, I love you. 8. Since I said those 3 words, Ji Yunzhou became even more clingy. Except for going to the toilet, he followed me everywhere. Although I felt a bit helpless sometimes, which girl could resist the feeling of being treated like a treasure in someone's heart? Even my friends who usually played well with me couldn't stand it. The two of you are so clingy all day long. Have you ever considered the feelings of the onlookers? It makes me want to fall in love too, I warned her. No, puppy love will delay your studies. Do you still want to get into university? She laughed. You're being inconsistent. The bell for the morning reading rang, and the homeroom teacher brought Shinweiwei into the classroom. She introduced, this is the new transferred classmate, Shinweiwei. Let's give her a round of applause. There was a sparse round of applause in the class, and curious eyes fell on Shinweiwei. I saw a glimmer of light flash in Liu Yubai's eyes, who had been gloomy for a long time, because he smelled the same kind of breath. Lizzie Middle School was a private high school. Most of the students here came from wealthy families. There was also a small number of students who were specially recruited by the school to ensure the enrollment rate, just like Shinweiwei. In fact, Liu Yubai didn't belong to either group. His father begged my family to let him in. When his father was driving for my family, he had a car accident and lost a leg. My father felt guilty and treated them like benefactors. This family was really good at acting. They took advantage of my family's guilt for more than 10 years. Liu Yubai's food, clothing, and daily expenses were comparable to mine, and the classmates in the class thought he was a rich second generation. I never exposed him because I liked him before, but sometimes, he really didn't deserve my kindness. Shinweiwei was arranged to sit next to Liu Yubai. Liu Yubai was both inferior and conceited. He looked down on the rich second generation who squandered money, but he was jealous of them. Shinweiwei came at the right time. He should be looking forward to seeking comfort with someone of the same kind. But he was destined to be disappointed. I was right. Liu Yubai used the clumsy way of flirting that he learned somewhere, trying to make Shen Weiwei, the unsophisticated country bumpkin in his eyes, fall in love with him. In this life, Liu Yubai was too aggressive, and I had given Shen Weiwei a heads up. Shen Weiwei was completely unmoved and even found him annoying. When he passed a note to Shen Weiwei for the third time during class, she erupted. She stood up in class and said loudly, "Ji Yunzhou, just because you don't want to study doesn't mean I don't. Please restrain your behavior." In full view of everyone, Liu Yubai lost his mind. "I'm giving you face by taking a fancy to you. Don't be ungrateful." He probably mistook her for me in the past, only I would be servile to him. My phone vibrated. It was a message from the secretary of my family. Liu Yubai's father had been fired. The worm that had been in my family for years was finally removed. "Liu Yubai," I called out to him and smiled gently at him. "I had to deliver this fatal blow. Your father has been fired by me. From now on, all the resources of my family have nothing to do with you." With a bang, Liu Yubai, with red eyes, pushed over all the desks in front of him. He was hysterical. "What did you say, Su Zhen? How dare you? I had already planned to use your family as a stepping stone to cross classes. What right do you have to drive me away without my permission?" He roared at me unreasonably. "Liu Yubai, I think I've been kind enough. I know you haven't done anything yet, so I haven't cut off your means of living. You'll just be an ordinary white-collar worker all your life, working from 9 to 5, facing the crisis of going bald and having a big belly in middle age, and struggling with daily necessities. In my past life, Ji Yunzhou and I both lost our lives, but all he had lost was the status of a much-admired CEO and became an ordinary person. What was there to be aggrieved about? The more I said, the more excited I became, and I couldn't control my emotions. Ji Yunzhou stood silently behind me and hugged me. He was always my strongest support. I knew that a cornered dog would jump over the wall, but I didn't expect Liu Yubai to be so bold as to break into my villa. He had lived here for more than 10 years, and it was easy for him to do something and avoid the security. When I came out of the bathroom, he was sitting on the bed. When he saw me, he grinned and knelt down on his knees with a thud. "Shenzhen, I'm here to admit my mistake. I was wrong before. I'll change. Can we make up?" He crawled 2 steps closer to me. "Shenzhen, I just realized that I love you." I wasn't particularly alarmed. "Liu Yubai, you're the best at pretending. You even believe your own act. Look at you now. You have no backbone at all." There was a fake look of pain on his face. "What's the use of backbone? The most important thing is to win you back." His confession and his pretentious attitude made me feel extremely disgusted. Fortunately, the police came quickly. They didn't make me suffer any longer, and Liu Yubai was taken away. 10 later, Liu Yubai disappeared from my sight. Ji Yunzhou and I were successfully admitted to the same university. Our parents on both sides had met, and we were going to get married after we graduated from university. The white veil covered my blurry eyes. In these 2 lifetimes, I finally put on the wedding dress I had dreamed of and married the person I loved the most. End of the main text. Extra from the male lead's perspective. Past life. 1. When I received a call from the staff of the bar, I had just got home after working overtime, exhausted. The moment I saw that it was from Su Zhen on the caller ID, uncontrollable surprise welled up in my heart. She had always pushed me away, and she hadn't called me for a long time. I quickly pressed the answer button, but it wasn't Su Zhen's voice on the other end. "Is this Mr. G? We are the staff of Duzhou Bar. Miss Su is drunk. Your phone number is the only one that can get through on her phone. Would you be able to come and pick her up?" Drunk again. My heart ached. What had Liu Yubai done this time? I didn't want to see the woman I loved get drunk because of someone else, but if I could control my feelings, it wouldn't be love. 2. When I rushed to the bar, Su Zhen was already dead drunk. She was lying on the bar counter with a flushed face, mumbling something. I leaned over and picked her up, and I heard clearly what she was saying. She said, "Liu Yubai, what's wrong with me?" Sourness filled my nose, and I couldn't catch my breath. I silently carried her to the car. She half opened her eyes and saw a small pendant on the center console. She laughed. "It's so ugly." I said, "It is ugly. But there was a fool who tried every means to win it back and give it to someone." In the end, I picked it up from the trash can. Su Zhen seemed to think of something and fell silent. After a while, she started making a fuss and said she didn't want to take the car. I had no choice but to carry her on my back and walk back step by step. The weight on my back was the feeling I had longed for a long time. I walked slowly, and even a passing child said, "Wow, this big brother is so nice." Yes, I'm really nice. Why can't you feel it, Su Zhen? The sand and wind stung my eyes, and cold tears rolled down my cheeks. Suzanne, stop torturing yourself, just look at me. It was quiet on my back, and I didn't get any response. After that, my relationship with her hit rock bottom. She said a lot of harsh words that she thought were mean. I knew she wanted to keep a distance between us. I couldn't bear to let her worry more, so I took the initiative to stay away from her. 3. I heard that Baohua Temple in Yangzhou was very famous, especially for praying for marriage. I knelt in front of the Buddha for a whole day and got the result that we were destined not to be together. Big teardrops rolled down my cheeks, and I was gasping for breath from crying. Sue, I've read 999 volumes of scriptures and kowtowed 3,000 times. Buddha, please listen to me. 4. Later, Liu Yubai got married. I met Suzhan in Yangzhou, and she didn't look well. I didn't dare to approach her rashly, for fear of making her disgusted. She was sitting in front of the corridor, caressing the misty rain. I closed my eyes, and finally couldn't help it. I held an umbrella over her. She turned around and looked at me, and there was a hint of surprise in her eyes. We walked from summer to winter, from the ancient city to the snowy mountains. From the moment she didn't refuse me to hold her hand during the journey, things between us got better and better, and we spent a sweet time together. She was even willing to marry me. At that moment, my world fell apart. But she was kidnapped. The abandoned factory building was filled with gasoline, and the fire started. She was curled up on the ground all alone. This was what destined not to be together really meant. My heart ached as if it was being torn apart, and there was only one thought left in my mind. I couldn't make her wait any longer. She must be very afraid. I rushed over regardless and hugged her tightly. I said, "What a pity. We've just started. If there's another chance, please open your eyes and don't like him, like me." I paused. "If you still don't like me, find someone else. It doesn't matter who, as long as he treats you sincerely. Suzhan, we can have another chance. This time, you will definitely live a fulfilling life." Story 2. Shurji is my stepbrother. I thought he disliked me because he was indifferent to me, so I deliberately picked on him everywhere. It wasn't until after I died. My soul followed him to the basement. I watched as he kissed me in the room covered with my photos, put a ring on me, and then committed suicide. Only then did I realize, he didn't dislike me, he was crazy in love with me. I was reborn for another life. When he asked me what I wanted to do again, I lowered my head and kissed him. "I want to fall in love with you." Later, the situation reversed. I ran out of the bathroom covering my waist, but I was grabbed back with great force. In front of the mirror, the corners of my eyes were red, and I felt extremely wronged. Can I quit this relationship? No way. Be good, I'll be gentle. Let's do it one more time. Double reincarnation. 1. After I drowned in the sea, my soul didn't dissipate immediately. Instead, it floated in the air. Watching as my body was fished out, there were a lot of people around. My mother was among them, crying on my stepfather's shoulder. I clicked my tongue, forcing down the sourness in my heart. I pretended to be relaxed and said, "You always scolded me. Now that I'm dead, do you regret it? Hey, if you feel so guilty, are you going to find a good geomantic burial site for me? You were stingy with me when I was alive. You should be more generous to me now that I'm dead." As I thought about it, I started to feel amused. This time, my mother will finally have to spend a lot of money. Why did she always spend money on my stepbrother when I'm her biological son? But the next second, I froze. I saw my stepbrother, Shurji. Suddenly, he rushed out from nowhere, pushed everyone aside, and held my body in his arms. No matter how others tried to persuade him, he wouldn't let go. He was about to leave while holding my body. My mother cried even louder. My stepfather rushed forward to stop him. But when he heard that my mother had fainted from crying, he went back to take care of her. Just like that, my body was taken away by Shurji. I was stunned. I watched as he put my body in the car and drove all the way home before I came to my senses. I was so angry that I started cursing. Realizing that he couldn't hear me, I became even angrier. Fine, you didn't show me a good face when I was alive, and now you won't even let me rest in peace after I'm dead, right? I knew Shurji disliked me, but I didn't expect him to dislike me so much. 2. We were in the same class in high school. He was a top student, the first in the grade, and the teacher's favorite. As for me, I was called the school bully euphemistically. To put it bluntly, I was a good-for-nothing hooligan. If it weren't for my good painting skills, I probably wouldn't even be able to reach the admission line of a third-rate university. We were originally two people with no intersection, but in our sophomore year of high school, my mother married his father. He became my stepbrother. After learning this news, the look in his eyes when he looked at me became even colder. I'm not someone with a good temper, I hate it the most when others show me a bad face. I stared back at him on the spot. Since then, whenever we met, we would definitely confront each other, and we would even have a fight from time to time. Every time this happened, the teacher would talk to me and ask me to bring my mother in, after my mother knew about it. She would scold me. She was like a mother hen protecting her chicks, afraid that Shurji would be wronged. I even suspected that Shurji was my mother's biological son and that I was picked up by her from the trash can. After being scolded like this, I was even more annoyed with Shurji. He couldn't stand me. He disliked me. I deliberately got close to him, picked on him, and annoyed him. When he was unhappy, I would be happy. He looked down on my poor academic performance. In my senior year of high school, I secretly studied really hard, plus, the cultural score requirements for art students were low, so I managed to get into the Fine Arts department of University A, but things didn't go as I had hoped. Although Shurji and I were in the same university but in different majors, we were still assigned to the same dormitory. We argued for another 4 years. I finally managed to graduate and thought I wouldn't have to face that cold face anymore, but then I was drowned. Just thinking about it makes me so angry. 3. I followed behind Shurji and watched as he carried my body into the basement. I had lived in this house for so long. The basement had always been locked, and I had never been in to take a look. Shurji casually pressed the switch. The lights instantly illuminated the entire basement. After seeing the layout of the room clearly, I was stunned. Then I widened my eyes. The walls were covered with my photos, starting from high school. There were photos of me in class, playing basketball, taking a nap on the desk, all kinds of them, hundreds in total. He took all these photos secretly. However, before I could be surprised, I saw him place my body on the large bed in the middle. He even changed me into a new set of clothes. He mumbled to himself, "I know you hate the feeling of being wet the most, every time you get caught in the rain. You can't wait to rush back and take a shower immediately." He silently adjusted my body. His expression was calm. It was as if I wasn't dead but just asleep. After tidying me up, he stared at me for a long time. Finally, he took out a ring from the drawer and put it on my finger. I recognized that ring. It was the same as the one on his hand. At that time, I even taunted him, asking if a bookworm like him could find a girlfriend. After hearing that, he gave me a meaningful look. Rarely. He didn't argue with me. I didn't want to make myself look stupid, so I didn't keep asking. Now that I think about it, the way he looked at me back then wasn't innocent. After putting on the ring, the tips of his ears turned completely red. He carefully lowered his head and kissed me gently. He whispered, "Jiang Yubai, there is someone in this world who loves you. I love you." After saying that, he hugged me and slit his wrist to commit suicide. Looking at this scene, I pursed my lips. I couldn't hold it in anymore, and tears silently rolled down my face. I cried. The night something happened to me, I had a big argument with my mother. It was as if I wanted to vent all the grievances I had accumulated over the years, saying all kinds of harsh words. I said she didn't love me at all. She had my stepfather and Shurji in her eyes, but never me. There was no one in the world who loved me. After venting, I slammed the door and left. I wanted to go to the beach to relax, but I encountered a heavy rainstorm and high tide, and I was dragged into the sea and drowned. This fool doesn't think I committed suicide, does he? He even committed suicide for love with me. At this moment, I suddenly realized, Shurji didn't dislike me, he was crazy in love with me. 4. When I opened my eyes again, my soul turned into a physical body. Shurji, who had just committed suicide while holding me, was now sitting in front of me perfectly fine. His expression was cold. I was stunned. I couldn't help but stare at Shurji for a while, and then I glanced around the empty classroom. I still felt it was incredible, so I simply reached out and pinched Shurji's face. After seeing his furrowed brows, I let go of my hand. Was I reborn? Was this not a dream? And judging from the situation, I was reborn to the time just after the military training in my freshman year. I sat on Shurji's desk, looking down at him. Shurji wasn't angry even though I pinched him. Instead, he looked at me with burning eyes. After a long while, I heard him ask in a hoarse voice, "What do you want to do again?" That's right. In the past 6 months, our relationship was at its worst. Every time I came, I would pick on him. And I would also mock him unilaterally a few times, but this time, the provocative words circled in my mind and turned into, "I want to fall in love with you." Upon hearing this, Shurji froze all over. He stared at me steadily. There were emotions in his eyes that I couldn't describe: madness, struggle, fervor, and a hint of darkness. After a moment, he regained his calm. I saw Shurji's Adam's apple move, and he uttered 2 words, "No." "Why?" I blurted out instinctively. don't you love me to death? Why don't you want to be in a relationship with me? Before I could figure it out, Sergey picked up his school bag and stood up, but he was obviously in a good mood. Before leaving, he hooked my palm. You haven't chased me yet. If I let you get me too easily, you won't cherish me. Damn it, what nonsense about not cherishing. I stared fiercely at his back, but when I saw his red ears, I couldn't help but laugh. Was Sergey at the age of 18 really this innocent? Then don't make me chase you for too long. You know I don't have much patience. Okay, 5. I had never been in a relationship before. I didn't know how to chase someone, so I simply opened the chat window with Yu Jingchuan. He was my best friend in high school. There were always many girls around him. He changed girlfriends one after another. He must know how to chase someone. How do I chase someone? Teach me. As soon as I sent the message, 3 question marks immediately appeared on the other side. You're amazing, Yuzi. So many pretty girls confessed to you in high school. But you didn't agree to any of them. I even thought you were gay. I didn't expect you to fall in love just after starting college. But with your looks, do you even need to chase? What's wrong? Does that girl look down on you? Me? Why does this guy talk so much nonsense? The more you talk, the more mistakes you make. I'm not planning to come out of the closet right now. Do you understand the sense of ritual? Hurry up and tell me. Alright, Yu Jingchuan said a lot. I glanced through it and more or less remembered it. When I got back to the dormitory, Sergey had already read dozens of pages of his major textbook. When he saw me come back, he didn't even raise his head. He just said indifferently, you finally decided to come back. The words I had prepared suddenly wouldn't come out. In my previous life, I didn't know he liked me. Every time I heard his sarcastic words, I would get so angry that I had to retort to feel better. But now that I know, when I hear these words again, there's a strange sense of jealousy and intimacy in them. I coughed twice and handed him the bag of snacks I bought. These are for you. Yu Jingchuan said that there are 3 things you must give when chasing someone: breakfast, snacks, and gifts. It was already late at night, so the only thing I could give was snacks, but Sergey didn't take them. I raised my eyebrows, not understanding what he meant. Don't you like them? Sergey paused. He picked out a piece of chocolate from the bag. You can eat the rest. I only want this one. Are you sure? Sure. I nodded and was about to leave with the remaining snacks, but the next second, I was grabbed around the waist and pressed onto the desk. The snacks were casually thrown aside. The man held my waist with one hand and slowly rubbed against my shirt in a flirtatious way. It felt numb. It was itchy. My breathing became heavier. I squirmed restlessly, trying to break free from him. Then I heard him let out a muffled groan. The hand holding my waist tightened even more. Don't move. Be good. Sensing something, I froze. I said a bit uncomfortably, what are you doing? I haven't even caught up with you yet. I know. I heard Sergey's slightly hoarse soft laugh in my ear. I just can't help it. Let me kiss you first. 6. Before I could react, a touch of softness pressed against the side of my neck. It touched and then left immediately, but it was still burning hot. My heart was beating so fast that it was scary. I covered my neck and lowered my head, not daring to look at him, but he handed the chocolate to me. Feed me. Me. He's such a big guy. Does he really need someone to feed him chocolate? I didn't understand. I gave him an annoyed look. I tore open the bag, broke off a piece of chocolate, and stuffed it into his mouth. My fingertips brushed against the corner of his lips. It was like an electric shock. I wanted to take my hand back, but he grabbed my wrist and didn't let go until he bit the chocolate in. Looking at the triumphant smile in his eyes, I suddenly realized, damn it, I was flirted with. 7. I couldn't stay there anymore. I took my toiletries and fled to the bathroom like I was running for my life. In the next half-month, with a lot of classes and various things in the student union, Sergey was extremely busy every day. The way he looked at me became much more resentful. I was happy to be relaxed, but on Saturday, I couldn't laugh anymore. I pointed at Sergey's bed that was soaked with water and said through gritted teeth, did you do this on purpose? Sergey looked innocent. How could I? I really didn't hold the cup steady. Sergey and I lived in a double dormitory, and there were only 2 beds. His bed was wet and he couldn't sleep on it, so he could only squeeze onto the same bed as me. After a moment of stalemate, I finally gave in. Whether it was on purpose or not, I couldn't let him sleep on the floor. But before going to bed, I repeatedly reminded him, don't move around or touch me randomly, or I'll beat you to death. Last time he flirted with me using the chocolate, I knew that even in this new life, this guy was still very scheming. Sergey agreed readily, but when he actually squeezed onto the same bed as me, things were different. The bed in the school was very small. It wasn't even spacious enough for one person to sleep. Let alone two guys over 8 meters tall. I turned my back to him. I could even feel the shiver of his breath spraying on my neck. His arm was draped over my waist. It was as if he wanted to encircle me in his arms from behind. He held my fingers in his hand and played with them casually. He seemed to really like my hands. He always praised my hands for being slender and long. He said they were hands born to hold a paintbrush. Whenever he was with me, he would hold my hand. Once I was annoyed by him. I couldn't help but ask him, "Sure G, be honest. Do you have some thoughts about my hands?" What did he say at that time? Oh, he said, "I do." 8. Sure G has a thing for hands. I wasn't surprised at all. With his crazy behavior of secretly taking hundreds of my photos and pasting them all over the basement. Having a thing for hands even seemed like a very normal hobby to me, but now I regret it. If you don't want to sleep, get out of the bed. We were too close to each other. We were both in the prime of our youth. It was hard not to get aroused. I had already tried to lean against the wall as much as possible. Damn it, he still pressed against me. And in this new life, I don't know if it's just my illusion, but sure G has become smarter. He used to be cold, withdrawn, and sharp-tongued. That's why we always argued. Now he talks in a sly and coquettish way, always pretending to be round and pitiful, like a black-hearted white lotus. Jiang Yu Bai. I'm feeling uncomfortable. Endure it if you're uncomfortable, I said impatiently. Sure G didn't say anything. He lowered his head and buried it on my shoulder. After a while, this damn guy not only didn't stop, but he became even more excessive. I couldn't help but sit up directly. I grabbed his arm and was about to pull him up too. Take a cold shower before the power is cut off. Hurry up. Sure G didn't move. His eyes were fixed on my hand. He looked a bit dejected. Fine, I'll go right now. I knew you don't like me. You just feel sorry for me. Indeed, how could anyone like a crazy person like me? I could hear the self-mockery in his words. I felt rather uncomfortable inside. Suddenly, I remembered that in my previous life, he had shown his love for me countless times, but when I was confused, he would wrap himself in indifference. He only dared to secretly pour out his feelings while holding my body after I died. Sure G is a crazy person. He's also a coward. Thinking of this, I let out a sigh. I softened my heart again, just this once. After saying that, I reached in. 9. Sure G was really going too far. My hand was already sore, but it still wasn't enough. I kicked his leg. Come on, that's enough. I have to go to the art studio tomorrow. Upon hearing this, Sure G's breathing became heavier. It was finally over. I clicked my tongue softly. I didn't even need to guess to know what was on his mind. Just as I was about to laugh at him for being a serious hand fetishist, he pressed me against the corner of the bed and covered my mouth. This kiss was not like the previous fleeting one. This kiss was dense and passionate. I almost lost my self-control. When the kiss ended, I leaned against the wall, gasping for breath. My mind blank. By the time I felt Sure G's hand causing trouble, it was already too late. In a trance, I heard Sure G chuckle softly. Once for each person. We're even now. We're even my ass. I was the one being taken advantage of both times, but looking at the joy in his eyes, I still didn't curse out loud. Forget it. After all, I like him. 10. After that night, the atmosphere between us changed. No wonder couples all like the ambiguous period. It's really sweet. It was supposed to be me chasing Sure G, but it was him who brought me breakfast, accompanied me to class, and saved seats for me in public classes. Sure G majors in finance, and his class schedule is packed. He always complains that he can't attend my classes. At the end of the day, we can only meet when we get back to the dormitory at night. Fortunately, I'm in the fine arts department, and I have fewer classes than him. When I don't have classes, I go to accompany him to his classes. After more than a month, the people in his class are almost familiar with me. I calculated the time. It's been several months since I said I would chase Sure G. It's time to confess my love. Coincidentally, there's a gathering of the student union in Sure G's college this Saturday. I guess he'll be back very late. It's enough time for me to prepare a surprise, but I didn't expect that Sure G got drunk on the day of the gathering. When I received a call from his minister, I was a bit stunned. The minister also sounded a bit helpless. There's no way. He's drunk and insists that you come to pick him up. Okay, I hung up the phone. I grabbed my coat and headed out. Sure G has always been self-disciplined. In the many years I got along with him in my previous life, I never saw him drunk. No, there was probably one time. It was the graduation ceremony. After it ended, I went to have a meal with some friends. Sure G and his friends were also having a gathering in that restaurant. He was drunk. He came over and hugged me tightly, not letting go. He mumbled, "Why do you dislike me so much?" Please don't dislike me, okay? I like you. I like you so much, so much. I thought he had a crush on some girl and was experiencing a one-sided breakup, and I even wanted to laugh at him, but seeing that he was so sad that he was about to cry, I just teased him with one sentence. It turns out that our top student Shurji isn't that popular with girls either. Now that I think about it, he wasn't talking about some other girl. He was clearly talking about me. 11. When I arrived at the private room, I immediately saw Shurji sitting in the corner. He was drunk, but he wasn't causing trouble. Instead, he was a bit cute. You're sitting here all alone, you're so pathetic. Come on, big brother is here to take you home. After saying that, I reached out my hand to him. Shurji looked up at me. While pulling my hand, he retorted, I'm the big brother. Tisk, fine, you're my ancestor. I'm really dissatisfied with the fact that Shurji is my stepbrother. He's only 1 day older than me. Why is that? Now I can't even take advantage of him verbally, so I pursed my lips in boredom. The next second, he suddenly hugged me tightly. He gently bit my earlobe. Looking at the other senior students in the private room who were chatting, my scalp went numb. I wanted him to stop fooling around. Then I heard him whisper in my ear, I'm not your ancestor, I'm your boyfriend, afraid that he would say something even more astonishing. I quickly covered his mouth. I greeted the minister and the others and then took him away. Shurji didn't want to take a taxi and insisted on walking back to school. I was too lazy to argue with a drunk person, so I pulled him and walked towards the school. In the north in November, there aren't many people out at night. Shurji was walking in front alone, staggering as he walked. His back looked a bit lonely. I couldn't help but follow him, but he wrapped me in his arms with one hand. Shurji buried his head on my shoulder, and his voice carried a suppressed sob. You always said you didn't want to be in a relationship and thought it was troublesome to chase someone. When I chased you, you didn't respond, so why can't you chase me for once? Once you chased me, I would have agreed. My heart softened. I immediately said, I did chase you. I've been chasing you for several months, and it's been really hard. So, Shurji, will you be my boyfriend? In response to me, he put a ring on my hand. Okay. I glanced at the style of the ring and stopped. I felt an indescribable feeling in my heart. This ring is exactly the same as the one Shurji put on my hand after I died in my previous life, so he bought it so early. 12. Although Shurji was drunk, he was still a drunk person with the ability to take care of himself. Except for insisting on hugging me to sleep after taking a shower, he was quite well behaved. In the morning, I was awakened by the smell of food. Shurji had already tidied himself up and was sitting on the chair, flipping through an album. Thinking of the content of the album, my face turned red, and I quickly slipped away to wash up. For a confession, you always have to give something. I didn't know what he liked, so I painted an album for him. Most of the paintings in it were of him. There were also a few paintings of the two of us. Whether in my previous life or this life, we had never taken a group photo. With these paintings, we can be considered to have group photos. When I came out, it seemed that Shurji had finished looking at the album. He was lowering his head, and I didn't know what he was thinking. I didn't disturb him either. I silently went to rummage through the breakfast on the table, but as soon as my hand touched the soy milk, I was hugged from behind by Shurji. The man's voice was a bit muffled. Thank you, I like it very much. I let out a sigh of relief. I raised my hand and touched his head. Come over and eat quickly. The food is almost cold. This meal was extremely difficult to eat. Shurji was too close to me. He kept touching me. And when I slapped him, the cup also fell over. The soy milk spilled all over both of us. Me, biting back the urge to curse, I took off my sweater and walked towards the bathroom. The moment before the door closed, it was pushed open again. Looking at Shurji, who was also shirtless, I took a wary step back. What do you want to do? Upon hearing this, Shurji put on a pitiful expression. He was like a deserted big dog. I want to take a shower with my boyfriend. 13. When I heard the word boyfriend, I hesitated for a moment. Just in this gap, I was pressed against the wall by Shurji. The cold tiles were against my back, making me shiver. The hot water flowed down. Along with it, there was also Shurji's burning and forceful kiss. The air was gradually being taken away. My mind couldn't even react. At this moment, Shurji was like a seductive fairy, relying on his good looks and a great figure with broad shoulders, a narrow waist, and 8-pack abs. He set fires all over my body and flirted with me wantonly. I wanted to push him away, but he gently bit my collarbone, as if he was afraid of hurting me. A dense series of kisses immediately landed on the same spot. The man looked at me with his wet eyelashes. Cautiously, his voice was hoarse. Is it okay? I didn't answer. He kept asking, and his voice became more and more pitiful each time. My rationality collapsed. I fell for it again. I raised my hand to cover my eyes in frustration, and said in a self-destructive manner, "Fine, fine, hurry up." Less than 2 hours after I said that, I regretted it. Is Sergi a mad dog? I ran out of the bathroom covering my waist, but I was grabbed back with great force. In front of the mirror, my chin was forced to lift up. In my ear was the man's dangerous and restrained voice, "Baby, be good, look up, see clearly who's fucking you now." Tears couldn't stop flowing out. I couldn't bear it and bent my waist, feeling extremely wronged. Can I quit this relationship? No way, honey. I'll be gentle. Let's do it one more time, okay? I gave him a resentful look, but I softened my heart again because of his calling me honey. Forget it, just this once. At noon that day, we even missed lunch. From the bathroom to the bed, I was coaxed and bullied by him again and again. In the last second before losing consciousness, I couldn't help but curse, "Liar." 14. After regaining consciousness, I was so angry that I didn't let him get on the bed for a week. Sergi knew he was in the wrong and didn't provoke me again. He would just come to ask for kisses when there was no one around. Sergi became more and more clingy. He even wanted to be with me during the final review week, seeing that the winter vacation was coming soon. My mother specifically called to remind me not to be petty and not to bully Sergi. This time, I must bring him home with me. I perfunctorily agreed. After hanging up the phone, I still felt a bit uncomfortable. Are you kidding me? Your son is the one who's being bullied. Okay, in high school. Sergi and I were in the same class, but not in the same dormitory. Every time my mother asked me to take care of him and go back with him, I refused. I always left early every time. Now that I think about it, I might not have disliked Sergi at that time. I was jealous of him. I was holding a grudge in my heart. Why is it that in this reorganized family, he is both his father's and mother's love, while I'm the only poor thing who's neither loved by my father nor my mother? Thinking like this, my mood became even worse. The next second, an ice cream cone was stuffed into my mouth. I instinctively looked up and realized that I didn't know when Sergi had stood behind me. Our eyes met. He suddenly leaned in and kissed the corner of my lips. He smiled. "It's so sweet." My face immediately turned red. I lowered my head and pretended to eat the ice cream cone seriously. Sergi didn't expose me. Instead, he hugged me from behind and kissed my ear again and again. Just as I couldn't stand it and was about to push him away with a slap, I heard him say, "Jiang Yu Bai, I will love you very much, more than anyone else, so, don't be unhappy." At that moment, the emotions that had been pent up in my heart suddenly disappeared for no apparent reason. 15. My mother didn't expect that we would really go home together this time. She was really surprised for a while, but when she saw Sergi carrying a bunch of luggage walking behind me, her expression wasn't very pleasant. She pointed at me and started scolding. I said, "Why you become so obedient? It turns out you made Sergi carry all the luggage by himself. You naughty child. Didn't I tell you not to bully him? Look at you." As she scolded, she also pretended to come over and pinch my ear. I was used to it, but my mother didn't manage to pinch me because someone blocked her. Sergi had a cold expression and protected me behind him. He said calmly, "He didn't bully me. I'm willing to help Yuzi carry the luggage. Also, Auntie, Yuzi is your biological son. Aren't you taking the wrong side?" My mother was stunned. There was a rare look of embarrassment on her face. She mumbled, not knowing what to say. Sergi didn't care either. He turned around and pulled my hand, heading towards the bedroom. I stared at Sergi's back. For some reason, I suddenly laughed out loud, the moment the door closed. I heard my mother whispering to Uncle Sher, "When did Yuzi and Aji become so close?" The bedroom door was locked. Sergi was helping me take out the things from the suitcase. I was still quite amazed. I couldn't help but poke Sergi's waist. "Why did you suddenly think of contradicting my mother? I've never seen you have such a strong temper before. Besides, I'm used to it." My hand was grabbed. Sergi lowered his head and kissed my fingertips. There was no expression on his face. "I don't want her to say those things about you, not even your mother." I stared at him for a while. I simply hooked my arms around his neck and kissed him. TSK, I seem to like Sergi even more. 16. Most of the time, my mother isn't a reliable mother. In her eyes, outsiders are always more important than her own family. When someone else came to snatch my toys, my mother would scold me for being inconsiderate and ask why I couldn't let the other children have them. When I fought back against someone who was picking a fight, my mother would tell me to find my own reasons. Otherwise, why would they pick on me and not others? Then she would apologize to the person with a smiling face. She didn't care about right or wrong. She only cared about her own face. if I made her lose face, it was my fault. And she would scold me. I was always a useless person, trash. A good for nothing, and a shameful thing, just like my father. In her words, she actually knew how to be a mother quite well. She would make breakfast for Sergei, attend his parents' meetings, defend him in front of the teacher, and buy him new clothes, new shoes, and a new phone. Even though Sergei had always been indifferent to her, everyone said that she was a good stepmother. My mother would always laugh widely whenever she heard that, but she forgot, I'm her son. I've been lacking love my whole life. No wonder I couldn't resist when I met this crazy guy Sergei, 17. On the eve of the new year, my mother and Uncle Sher were busy working overtime. During the day, when they weren't at home, Sergei and I were lovers, sweethearts. We went crazy at home, in the car, and in the hotel. We explored and tasted each other's bodies freely. We desperately wanted to convey our love to each other. At night, my mother and Uncle Sher came back. We became brothers again. We tirelessly performed the act of brotherly harmony in front of them. We wore the guise of brothers. We secretly held hands under the table, in the bedroom where they couldn't see, with just a wall between us. We kissed boldly, again and again. The taboo and excitement overwhelmed our minds. We lost control. 18. We were clearly together. We had done both the things we should and shouldn't have done. But Sergei still didn't feel very secure. He always liked to keep a close eye on me. He would say he loved me over and over again and ask me not to abandon him. I didn't understand where this deep-seated panic in him came from, but I instinctively soothed him. For this reason, I held his face in my hands and said seriously, "Then I'll be your puppy. I'll always be by your side from now on." In the 3rd month after arriving in the United States, I have gradually adapted to the life here. I shuttle between the dormitory and the laboratory every day and am no longer confined by love and affection. Lin Guannan and I are now friends, confidants, and the best partners. The ideals that were not realized in my previous life have finally been fulfilled in this life. Later, I heard news about Liang Zhe. It was half a year later. Lin Guannan told me about it. When Liang Zhe was originally going to be imprisoned for kicking Qin Xia to death. The Liang family produced his medical records indicating mental illness, so he was sent to a mental hospital instead. At first, Lin Guannan thought Liang Zhe was pretending. Unexpectedly, Liang Zhe was truly crazy. He holds a doll every day, changes its clothes for it, and gently combs and braids its hair. He likes to hold the doll when he sleeps and sometimes stares at it and cries. Every night, he always says affectionately to the doll, "I love you, Jia. I will only love you forever and ever. You don't have to love everything about me. I can change for you." Coming back with him was also Qin Xia, my senior sister. Don't leave me, don't leave me. The staff are often scared by him when they do the night inspection, and sometimes they avoid him. When I heard this, I was stunned for a moment, but in the end, I didn't say anything. Everyone has their own destiny, and this is the ending he chose for himself. After this incident happened in the Liang family, although there wasn't much impact on their interests, their reputation was inevitably damaged, so they completely removed Liang Zhe from the family register and drove him out of the Liang family. Liang Zhe is now in a mental hospital. He is all alone and helpless. The rest of his life will probably be like this. He also taunted me, asking if I had been rejected by a girl, and that's why I gave the things to him since I couldn't give them to anyone else. A crazy dog is always infatuated. I continued to pursue him, thinking that our relationship had improved a lot recently. I planned to confess to him on the day of graduation, but I received the news of his death instead. I didn't know exactly what he had argued with his mother about. I only heard a sentence at the door. "There is no one in the world who loves me at all." I panicked. I wanted to say that I loved him. It's a pity that I never managed to say those words in the end. After he died, I took his body back to my secret base. There were all the photos of him that I had secretly taken. The reason why I had always been afraid to pursue him too closely was that I was afraid he would find out that I was a crazy person, and that he would be scared of me and dislike me. I was even more afraid that I wouldn't be able to resist and do something excessive to him. I didn't want us to reach that point, but he was dead. I could kiss him boldly and tell him that I loved him. I had never had much attachment to this world. Until I met Jiang Yubai. Now that he was dead, my attachment was gone. I didn't want to live anymore either. My soul didn't dissipate immediately. Instead, it floated in the air, watching as my own body was fished out. The end. I don't know why a person can still dream after death. In the dream, I went back to the time when I went to retrieve his body, but this time, there was one more person, or rather, one more ghost. I saw Jiang Yubai's soul floating in the air and following me all the way. I saw the shock in his eyes when he watched me kiss him. I saw him crying alone for a long time after hearing my confession and my suicide. At the end of the dream, a voice in the dream asked me. It said it could fulfill one of my wishes. I said, then I want to go back to the time when I just started my freshman